Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Delta Sigma Chi house. I'm glad you all came out. I'm glad we were able to open this up for Dr. Andy tonight. Tonight he's going to do his pediatric talk with you guys. Hope you all enjoy it. Good moment to have him here. For those of you who don't know, Delta Sigma Chi is a straight chiropractic fraternity founded by good old BJ himself. We stand for basically, like I said, straight chiropractic. So good to have everybody out, and Dr. Roberts, whenever you're ready, man. Everybody give him a hand.
There's a ton of you guys here, but thank you for everybody that's streaming in. We have tons of students from around the country, doctors. We're streaming to 12 countries. That was my callback. And everybody is really excited to hear what Dr. Roberts has to say. Good man.
Hello. Hello. I'm waiting for somebody to come slap my butt, too. So why are we here?
Sorry. I know it was me you've all been waiting for.
So why are we here? What's that? Why are we here? This, by the way, is interactive. Just so you know. It's not going to be just me speaking. Why are we here? What's our purpose? Learn, right? We're on a constant journey. I've been at this for 25 years. I started my journey, and I'm still learning and growing. Just finished our... Now that I step down, I'll be shorter on the people at home. Okay, then I'm kind of tall.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So I started about 20, did I say 25 years ago? That's a long time. So, it's almost about 23 years ago, I think. 23 years ago. But I'm still on a constant journey of learning. I just finished last weekend the ACP, Academy of Chiropractic Philosophers. I do that because I'm always learning. We should always be in a phase of learning. I know, having gone to see a lot of chiropractors in my career, both as a student and as a doctor afterwards, I always found that the tops in the field were always students. They never stopped learning. They never stopped going to different events and going to learn from different doctors and expanding their own personal repertoire of information that they knew and what they can do to become a better person, a better chiropractor, so that when they were with that one moment in time, that 1 second in time that they were going to be with that patient, that it was going to count. So we're here to kind of start the journey. I was asked by Caleb to present here on his Pediatric Summit, which I'm really, what an impressive thing as a student. I remember back when being a student's crazy. It was hard enough just getting through school. If you had a job on the side, made it even harder. If you had other responsibilities, oh my gosh, and he created this great Pediatric Summit. I'm really impressed and really proud of him for what he put together, the energy and input that he puts into it, and he does it more, not for him, for everyone else, so that we all can grow from it, we all can learn from it, we could all add to each other together, because this is not a competition, right? We're all in this together. There doesn't matter how many chiropractors are in one location. The more, the better. You just raise the consciousness of that community. So we need to kind of work together to try to get to where we're going. I do myself upper cervical specific chiropractic work. I do it exclusively. That doesn't mean that we can't have a conversation if you do full spine. And if you do full spine, it doesn't mean you can't have a conversation with me about that. We should all be looking at different ways your information can enhance what I do, and what my information can enhance what you do. I know when I was learning, I learned every upper cervical technique that I could, but I also learned every full spine technique that I could. Even though I knew that I wanted to do upper cervical from the beginning, but I wanted to understand what it was that the full spine people did, because I wanted to get a point of view. Why do you do that? What's your rationale? And I think that the information that all of those other upper cervical techniques and all those full spine techniques just helped me be a better, the art of the specific, the tax doctor that I am. And I hope that you can do that. Don't get caught up necessarily in I'm this, and that just puts up the wall. How about just the I'm this is I'm a chiropractor? How about we just stop there? Doesn't mean that you do everything. I don't want you to do everything. I want you to be the one message I've always said. I want you to be a master in something. But I don't care what that mastery is. If it's Gonstead, be a master in Gonstead. If it's Thompson, be a master in Thompson. If it's tax, be a master in tax. When you master that and you don't think that that's it, then go learn something else. But don't do it until you've mastered it. But we're here to talk about pediatrics. I want to just play, not that, that. No sound. That's okay. Who here is a parent? Who here has been through embryology? Everybody. Pretty cool. I know you're in school. For those that are not parents, I know you've been in school. I know you have to study it, and I know you have to memorize it. But at some point, do you not stop and pause and say, holy crap, with embryology? Do you not have to just stop and say, this is amazing. This just can't happen by accident. He speaks. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. Intelligence, whatever works for you. But this is like not happenstance, right? The odds against any of this happening are so monumental, and yet it does all of the time. And then if you're a parent and you've actually seen it happen, I can't even give you words that describe it, right? Well, first of all, the mother doesn't, and the father for sure, but the mother doesn't even know she's pregnant until, like, the heart's beating, right? It's like, wow, something's not right. But you already got a nervous system and a heart beating. Father, even stupider than that, is like, what? Right? When you finally find out. And then when this thing comes out, the first time, I get 4, so I'm speaking from a little bit of experience. When this thing comes out, just rocks your world. Josh, your first baby that came out, were you a puddle of tears? I can't even tell you. It's just like, and it's like nothing. It's just this ball of flesh, all bloody and snotty, and yet it's the most beautiful thing ever that you'll ever lay your side. And just 40 weeks before, nothing. Nothing. 2 half cells. So here we are. Tonight we're going to talk about pediatrics, and I always say that with a little bit of kids. Kids from birth to maturity. And my first one was, can we turn off one set of lights or no? Both go off. That's okay, it doesn't matter. This is Zachariah. He was born 14 years ago in Costa Rica. I lived there for 7 years. So have you ever heard of that idiom or the statement that man plans and God laughs? Heard that before? So we had this whole plan, water birth. We had this coolest house that we lived in. It was a small finca. There were fruit trees and, oh my God, 5 different kinds of limones. Here in the United States, you don't even know that. There's green and yellow. Everywhere else in the world, there's like 20 different kinds of limes that are just amazing. There were bananos and plantanos and mangoes. There was everything, grapefruits and oranges and cas. You have cas in Puerto Rico? You make a drink out of it. It's always filled with gusanos. They're horrible. Okay. Better off not. So gusanos are worms. I'm sorry. So anyway, the house had this monstrous bathroom on the master bedroom, but everything there, because of the humidity and the bugs, it's not like the post and beam. There's no wood. Everything is concrete cinder blocks. So because of that, there's no need for separation. So like if this was the shower, there's no stall. You don't need a stall. Like here is the tile, and the tile just keeps on walking to where you would stand for the bathroom or the toilet or whatever. We had this monstrous big tub, right? But in this house, cut out about 4 by 6 foot in the roof of the bathroom was open. Like open. So I would shower, when it was raining, I'd shower in the rain. It was the coolest thing. So anyway, long story short, we were going to have in the big tub the water burn. But my wife's water broke 6.5 weeks early, which normally wouldn't be a problem, but it, like, everything gone. And they monitored for a little while, and they said, no, it's got to be now. So here he comes into the world 6.5 weeks early, weighed 5.25 pounds, and this thing was tiny, and it was our first foray into parenthood, first of all. Second, we're in a foreign country, right? And we could say third world up until second world kind of thing. Socialized medicine. To give you an idea, there was one hospital that was private, that was by our house. That's where we went. It was a conglomeration between a company in Costa Rica and Baylor, Texas Med School. Zach was the first vaginal birth. So it was us two, him coming, and 16 attendants, nobody else on the floor. All the lights were off. I mean, it was a mess. He comes, like, well, what do we need to do? But we take care of it. He starts growing. At about 8 months, 9 months, he gets whooping cough. Does anyone who has a child here had their child have whooping cough? Okay. So, has anyone here seen, physically, not a video, of a child with whooping cough?
Not sure.
Okay. You want to describe it? Pleasant?
No.
Not so pleasant.
No.
What does it look like?
It's really scary. It's the point you don't think they can breathe. You think they're not.
That's pretty scary, right? Now just imagine that that's your child. Right? So, third world country, born early, and here is this gift that was given to you, the most precious thing in the world that you can't imagine anything ever happening to, looking up at you, gasping for breath. Eyes bulging, the sclera of the eyes red, their nail beds blue, their lips blue, and then you have 2 chiropractors for parents. So what do you do? Right? When is it an emergency? Or is it an emergency? Are there emergencies? Of course there's emergencies. Medics are perfect for emergencies. We want medics. We like medics. We can get along. We can talk to them. They can be our friends. We can have a professional relationship with them. They're awesome. But for us, where is the line? So here it is, Zachariah gasping for breath. So what do? What do? I check him. Right? Because that's what I was taught. I check him. So I have a infant NCM, neurocoulometer. That's what I was trained to do, check for nervous system interference. And I ran a scan on him, and he actually was in pattern. Right? So I gave him an adjustment. What did Andy Roberts think with that adjustment? What did I think? What do you think I thought? I thought he would start breathing like that. He would just and start laughing and then playing. And what do you think happened? Nothing. Not a blessed thing. The line straightened. I cleared the graph. I made the adjustment. His body, innate, took the force and made the chiropractic adjustment. But you know what? Tears were still rolling out of his eyes. Tears were still rolling out of my eyes as he was gasping for air. We took him into the bathroom, shut the door, put on the hot water to steam. Nothing. I checked him once every hour. First hour, clear. Second hour, clear. You know what his breathing was like? Absolutely the same. He couldn't breathe. Everything was blue. His eyes were red, bulging. Do we take him? He's clear, right? After like 9 hours of this, do you know what I was thinking? Every time I scanned him? Praying what? What do you think I was praying? That a pattern would come back. Show me a break. Please. I almost wanted to jiggle it subconsciously so a pattern would arrive so that I could do what? Put a thrust on him. Because thinking that my thrust would be magical. The chiropractic adjustment will cure everything. But I knew I had to do the right thing. And the right thing was remaining objective. And remaining objective means doing what I was taught to do. Make the scan. If the scan shows clear, it's clear. You leave it alone. If the scan shows that he's carrying nerve pressure, make the adjustment. Everything's running through my head as the parent of this child is struggling to breathe. The story that was told of Lyle Sherman and BJ about the person with seizures. Everybody know that one? You've heard that one? So there's a person that came to the BJ Palmer Research Clinic that had seizures, approximately like 25 a day. Started, everything worked up. Spinographs done, neurocalligraph readings, everything was done. Adjustment was given by no other than Lyle Sherman himself, cleared the graph. That next day, the seizures shot to about 50. As they're walking by in the corridor at Palmer School of Chiropractic, BJ's walking here, Lyle's walking this way. Lyle says, "Oh, Dr. Palmer, can I ask you a question?" Yeah, what's going on? Well, describes the case. BJ asks Lyle, well, what did the post-scan show? He showed clear. So BJ kind of makes a face like, okay, and walks away. Lyle walks his way. Next day it shoots up to like 75, 80. BJ in the hall. Dr. Palmer, can I ask you a question? Explains the same thing. BJ asks. BJ asks, what the graph say? Lyle says, clear. BJ says, dude, what are you asking me for? Kind of. That was a little stretch. I added a little extra. And walks away. Next day he comes, and it's up to like 100 and change. 100 and change seizures. Lyle's a little bit... Now, we're not talking about Lyle's like some student, right? Everybody knows who Lyle Sherman was. That was BJ's right-hand man. He was the assistant director for the longest time of the BJ Palmer Research Clinic. I mean, he was his most trusted chiropractor. And he's getting nervous a little bit. Stops BJ literally there, again in the street, in the corridor at Palmer. And BJ says, what? Says 100 and something seizures. BJ asks him, what does the scan say? Clear. BJ says, Lyle, he asked me one more time, you're fired, and walked away. Next day, it shoots down to 60, to 40, to 10, to 0. This is what's running in my head. Okay? I've had a lot of great mentors that mentored me in my chiropractic career, so they're sitting on my shoulder, but I'll tell you what, they had a good fight from the emotional side of Andy watching my child struggle to breathe. 15 hours goes by. It's like the car's running, ready to go to the hospital. Is it still an emergency? Check them every hour. Clear, clear, clear. No, I have to trust. I have to trust in what was taught, what was right, what I know the principles of chiropractic to be. 23 hours up. All 23 hours. Both of us. I'm not great. My wife's up 23 hours. Zach's up 23 hours trying to breathe. We're complete friggin' messes. He does this. Does one of the coughs, and then does... and breathes out. I can't tell you the release of tears that I cried in that moment, and he would breathe smoothly from that point forward. He fell asleep. Literally, like 2 minutes later, slept for like 10 hours straight, and then got up and was hungry and played. I want you to understand that those chiropractic principles that we're founded upon are solid as bedrock. And the law of life, of which this is described in those principles, are equally as solid. You as students and even docs are going to get so bombarded with such crap that you are not going to have any other chance but have doubt in your head. And that doubt is what kills. Right? You ever see these crazy people like, what's that called? Parkour. Right? Scott Jackson from AECC. Anybody follow him on Facebook? He created this whole... Well, you see, they jump like 12 feet, like over buildings and stuff. Do you think that if they had any doubt going to that step, if they'd ever be able to make it? How much more important is when you're giving that chiropractic thrust, that adjustic thrust, if you have any doubt, do you think that you'll be successful in giving a force able to entice an ache to make the adjustment? So how do we get certainty? How do you think we get certainty? Practice is one, right? But practice what? I could practice crappy, and then I could be really good at crappy. Perfect practice or near perfect practice, right? But what else do you need? What's the foundation? Is the foundation the practice? What? The philosophy. The philosophy is your foundation. The philosophy is the tree. Philosophy is the trunk and the roots. The science and the art come off of it. You can't just have an art. You can't just be a manipulator. We have plenty of those. Osteopaths are manipulators. Medical doctors are manipulators. Massage therapists now are manipulators. Physical therapists are manipulators. Everybody's a manipulator. And that's fine. They can do it. But if you're manipulating for the purpose of treating something, that has nothing to do with chiropractic. So our philosophy is our foundation. That's where we need to get to. We need to have that foundation. I'm not here to teach you philosophy today. That's your journey. I'm here at your disposal. If that's what you want, you can bring me back. You can contact me. We can talk about philosophy all day. You're in a good place. You have good people here. That journey you could take. Pick up a green book, right? How many here, honestly, own Volume 14? How many here know what Volume 14 is? No hands, right? Like literally no hands. Do you know what that book's called?
Chiropractic textbook.
The chiropractic textbook. Does that kind of clue you in, the name, that it's probably important to you as a chiropractor, the chiropractic textbook? Just because it was written in 1927 doesn't make it any less valid today than it was written then. You need to get it. I expect you all to get it tomorrow. Unless you guys have like a millimeter of snow and then you'll have your school closed. I was like, I'm driving through Tennessee and it's like white out and black ice and semis going off the thing, and then I hear like, oh, life's closed. I'm thinking, oh, it's the same thing, right? I wake up this morning and I get here, I'm like, there's nothing here. Oh my gosh. Seriously, you have to get Stevenson's textbook, Volume 14. They sell it in the bookstore. I think the fraternity here will sell it to you as well. I don't even know if the book manager's here. You could pick it up tonight. I'm not here. I don't get a collection of the proceeds. But you need to read that book. It will give you the foundation of the philosophy. It is even separated for you in freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior text. How easy could it be? Questions at the end of each. You go. You ever want to talk to me about chiropractic, I expect you to read it. Is that fair enough? And anybody that challenges you about chiropractic, especially another student, you tell them, as soon as you read that, then come talk to me. Because how could you challenge if you don't know what the foundation is? Okay? So that's your first step. So if that's our foundation, then the science should answer the questions that the philosophy asks, not that we ask. Does chiropractic help with GERD? That's not the science of chiropractic. Does it help with hemorrhoids? That's not the science of chiropractic. The science of chiropractic is trying to determine what the mental impulse is. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So then out of the philosophy and the science, then comes the art. We have so many techniques, and I'll put that in quotations, that it's mind-boggling. And that might be cool. I mean, and I'm sure there are a great lot of valid techniques out there. But you need to run it through your filter. Don't listen to Andy Roberts, who comes to you with the art of the specific and tell you about a technique and just say, wow, he's really cool, let me learn that technique. You should see what I teach, right? And then run it through the filter of the philosophy and the science. Does it make sense? Well, does Andy put a potato on my back and spin it around in a circle, and whichever way the skinny part of the potato is pointing, that's the side of atlas laterality? I think that should put up your bullshit meter, right? And say, whoa, wait. Stevenson, I don't see that anywhere in Stevenson's. That doesn't compute. But we should do that for every technique. Because everybody's going to come. Everybody wants a piece of you. Everybody wants a piece of you. Right? Do my technique. Do this practice management. Do whatever. You need to have your foundation. Your foundation then will allow you to determine what you allow past your gates. Does that sound cool? So here I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pediatrics, obviously. Pediatrics in how we evaluate and how we address. Really, for a technique, shouldn't be any different than what you do for an adult. Knowing the stages and phases of life. Okay. If I see another picture on Facebook of somebody manipulating a baby right after they're born, I'm going to pull whatever's left of my hair out. Because just because they went through the birth process doesn't mean they're subluxated. Just because they went through the birth process doesn't mean they're subluxated. It's one of the biggest trophies I always see. Yeah, just using their chiropractor, their own kids. Yeah. 1 second, oh, boom. Boom what? How could you even judge what the boom is? How do you know that they're subluxated? Well, they must. It's just like going on a mission trip. Well, they've never been adjusted before, so they must be subluxated. Well, how could you make that assumption? We would all be dead. So just because they've gone through the birth process doesn't mean that they're subluxated. You need to have a means by which you objectively measure to determine whether they need to be adjusted or not. And the last I checked, my fingers don't detect mental impulse. I don't know about yours. If they do, tell me, teach me, because I'd like to learn it. But I don't know how you can feel and determine that a subluxation needs to be made. Oh, well, it's fixated on one. Fixated? The baby was curled up in a ball for 40 weeks. Do you think if you were in this position for 4 hours, you wouldn't be a little fixated? The story I told you about my child, Zachariah, here's the fear. After all of the fact, here's my fear. What happened, the what if I put a thrust in those 23 hours when he didn't need it? That's my fear. That kept me up at night. Because is it possible that that thrust, when he didn't need it, would have caused a vertebral subluxation? And because he was suffering so much, would it maybe what I was measuring had been off and I wouldn't have known what to do after that? And then maybe he would have taken a turn for even the worse. So when you see me talk and post, check and adjust, I actually really do check. And only adjust if all of the objective measures say it. How could we possibly know when a baby just comes out whether we need to adjust or not? Especially with just our fingers. Because here, how far along are how many first year students here? How many second year students here? And third year? Okay. Is volume 14 not required in any classes?
It is for the second quarter.
Second quarter? Yeah? For title? No. No. Volume 18. Volume 18 is required for title? Cool. Cool.
It was Dr. Cron's. I don't know if they were caught.
Oh, it's Franz Kahn? That's too bad. Who? So? Teaches title? I'm sorry. No. That was no. Okay. So, what was it? Oh. Okay. The abnormal vertemer cycle. Has anybody heard of that one? So what happens when you have a vertebral subluxation? What happens? This is probably an important question. You are chiropractors. What happens when you have a vertebral subluxation? What? Yeah, that's like part of it. That's a component. What happens?
Interference in mental impulse.
Yeah, interference in the mental impulse, which is supposed to be going where? Tissue cells. Where also? In which tissue cell? The end organ to what that nerve is in that vertebra. But what else? All of the tissues that surround it, right? all of the tissues that surround the vertebra that hold it in place. So if I have a vertebral subluxation, we can boil it down to one of two things. This is what BJ used to say: plus function or minus function. Pretty simple, right? I mean, that's what we can boil down anything to. Too much production of insulin, too little production of insulin. Too much tonicity, too much laxity, or not enough. Got that? So if I have a vertebral subluxation, do you guys have a magic ball into the nervous system? Can you read what innate's doing? Or the mental impulse? So if that's the case, how do you know if the supply to the muscles and structure, soft tissue that holds the vertebra in place has minus function or plus function? You don't know, but you tell me when you feel that you know, oh, you see it's pulling, that one's tonic, that one's got a taut and tender fibers, so that one must need to be adjusted. We've heard that, right? It's in our class, motion, palpation, all those things. Not saying anything negative about these techniques, but these are the questions you need to ask. How do we know? We study our philosophy. The philosophy tells us it's one or the other. The reason why I'm pointing this out is, what other checks do you do to a baby? What are you checking for? Well, it's not moving this way. Well, maybe it's not supposed to move that way yet. Is that possible? Yet we do what? Put in the universal force in. We have a doc here that wrote a whole entire thesis on universal forces into the body when it's not needed, right? Because that's what it is. That's what your adjustment is, right? A universal force. You might think you're great, but all you are is a universal force. Tripping down the step. That's what you are, but more scientific. Right? But this trip down the step could also cause a subluxation. You know what you can do? Also cause a subluxation. Even worse, you can cause damage, just like this fall. When do you cause damage? When you put a force when it's not needed in the wrong place at the wrong time. Right? And we start out with 3 seconds of birth. Boom! Yeah, got it. Woo! Everybody cheers and everybody, right? 3,000 likes and, oh, doc, that was great. But how do you know? That's a question mark, right? It's a big question mark and an important question mark. Speransky. Who's heard of A.D. Speransky, the medical doctor? Yeah, BJ talked about him. He quoted him often. The nervous system cannot be altered locally. This is so super important. Local interference affects the whole nervous network. These changes pass away gradually and not completely, give rise to a number of adaptations to the new artificial norm. The nervous system is now a new object. Do you know what this says? Vertebral subluxation, you're now a whole new entity. You're a whole new entity. You can't just have a vertebral subluxation here, or a problem, and the rest be okay. It'll affect you globally. Globally. This is why vertebral subluxation is so dangerous. This is why you're not adjusting in bars and at street fairs and on the corner and, well, yeah, normally I use this in my office, but, you know, for you, you're a friend, so I'll do it this way. You should have the same sacredness for the chiropractic adjustment as you do for anything else you hold sacred. What's this? What is that? Yeah, that's all it is, right? No. What do we use this for chiropractic? Right, the simple cycle, the safety pin cycle. And what does it denote? Brain cell, tissue cell. I guess in this case this would be the efferent side. If there's a subluxation, then the mental impulse from the brain cell to the tissue cell can't get through. Okay? This is today and the art of specific kind of look at vertebral subluxation. This is a look into the disapplication model. We're not going to go over this tonight. I just want you to have an appreciation of where we've been and where we've gotten to. The philosophy hasn't changed, right? If the philosophy is right, it's solid, it's bedrock. If the major premise is right, everything deduced after that has to be right. Prove the major premise wrong, and everything else is possibly wrong after that, but I don't see anytime soon we're going to prove that wrong. So that's right. The science, as we learn more, then we grow, right? So if you look at the breadth of writing of B.J. Palmer, the philosophy was solid. He started out, developed it in those first few volumes, and then it stayed, boom. That's our foundation. But the science, did that stay the same? Did the art stay the same? My gosh, the science, do you know what they thought they were measuring with the neurocoulometer? Do you know what they actually thought they were measuring? Mental impulse. They thought that it was like a wire, an electrical wire, mental impulse, because of subluxation, caused a tightening of the nerve, which caused friction, which increased the heat, and that would show a heat swing. They thought they were measuring mental impulse. We know it not to be mental impulse anymore. Does it make it any more wrong? Well, it's wrong in what they thought. So we moved on. We don't dogmatically adhere to something that's wrong, and we learn, we grow. The safety pin cycle is still not wrong. It's still a good representation of it in the normal complete cycle. But the special sense cycle is different, and proprioception is a special sense. And that model is what the disaugmentation model is based on, and that's the model that we use in the art of specific to build our entire technique. The art, BJ started with, hit every one of them. Well, he didn't really start with that. He started with just whatever you want to believe, T4 or C2, right? But whatever they did, they stayed actually up in the neck for a little while. Then they said, wow, as they began to learn, well, maybe this one can affect the heart and this one can affect the liver. So they thought the best thing to do, move them all, right? So they would start at L5 and literally put a thrust in on every segment with a 100-pound, 150-pound sandbag on their shoulders because more force is better for cleavage, and all the way up to the occiput. And then BJ said, whoa, man, no, let's back off a little bit. And then came the Merrick system, right? So then the Merrick system said, no, we're going to be scientific and specific. We're only going to do like 6 or 7 segments. So we're going to measure those, and that's where we got like nerve tracing, the kidney place, the liver place, the heart place. Well, you have heart place, let's trace it down. Oh yeah, there it is, T4, boom, adjust, great. From there, that got distilled down to majors and minors. About 3 segments they went down. One major, clear out the major one. The others, hopefully compensations, would clear out. What they found in majors and minors is that most of their majors were up at Atlas or Axis. There's your birth to HIO. And that's where he stuck pretty much all the way through. But these models of subluxation are super important for us now. Why are there models? Because we don't know 100%. Why don't we know? We don't know what the mental impulse is. We know it exists. We know by its expression. We just don't know exactly what it is. It can't be a nerve impulse because they've showed things react faster than the actual nerve, axionic nerve system works. So that's like, whoa, something else is at work here. That's what our science needs to ask. Not these loopy stuff that we do, low back pain and neck pain. We need to really look into what the mental impulse is doing. Proper mechanics in the upper cervical spine is critical for proper afferentation and neurological health. Vertebral subluxation of this upper cervical can cause systemic effects. This is just a given. I don't care across whatever technique you see or whatever doctor you hear all through my years, if it was ever a serious case, where did they adjust? Always. Do they ever show you the newborn on Facebook coming out and say, whoa, that was a really good sacral set? No. Be specific. Can you read that? Homeless, please help. This site brings in $15 a day. Need only 10 more dollars to get back home. Brings in 15 $10 bills. Be specific. Be specific in everything that you do. Every part of your craft is a skill. At chiropractic school, be honest, what is it you want to do? You want to? What do you want to do? Adjust. 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 I can't wait till I get to adjusting class. Parker has an adjustathon. Adjust, adjust, adjust. Adjust what? Until you know that it's a vertebral subluxation, anything you do is a manipulation. So any skill, every skill, yes, I must be specifically back here. I'm sorry, everybody, I have my belly look. Every skill you need to master before you even get to the adjusting. You need to learn your objective measures. The infrared scanner. The infrared scanner. The infrared scanner. This is touted by the manufacturer of this. Even my 6-year-old niece can use it. I could tell you that in our classes at the Art of the Specific, I could have 20 doctors just starting to use this, scanning the same person and get 20 different scans. Everything has a skill level of which you need to achieve. Regardless of what it is you're doing, palpation, you know, I poked a little bit of fun at palpation, but we use palpation is super important because if you can't palpate where you contact, again, what's the point? Do you know how many people, when I ask to contact the Atlas transverse, are on C2, 3, or 4? But literally, I'm not talking about students, I'm talking about doctors that have been out there for years. Yeah, I gave the best Atlas adjustment in my career. No, you actually gave the best C4 adjustment in your career because you weren't even close. It's a little funny, but it's a little sad because we need to have the ownership of mastery like sports people do to make a buck, to be a master chiropractor. That same mentality. We should be practicing with our scanner. Scan after scan after scan after scan after scan. Just the protocol. Do you know that with my students, they're not even allowed to look at the results? Why look at the results if you don't know if they're right? Right? So until you get the mechanics of the scan, and it seems like, well, how hard can it be? You just roll it up. Well, no, it's not just rolled up. Leg checks. Do you know how easy it is to skew a leg? Do you know how easy I can get any result I want with this? I can make it look straight, I can make it look patterned, I can make it look anything. You want to learn the skills to be able to master it so that you can have the objectivity and obviously integrity to do it right every time. Same thing with leg checks. How many times prior in your head are you thinking that this person's subluxated? Do you not think that that affects your ability to give a proper leg check? You get the results you want to get. So when we talk about specific, BJ said, in volume 18, the law of innate is specific, it never varies, hence it's constant, fixed, and permanent. This is the only real specific. When we talk about like specific as in force and stuff like that, I just wrote a whole thesis on this about instrumentation and hand adjusting. The argument was that instruments are better because they can be exactly the same force, exactly the same excursion every time. That would be great if I knew exactly how much force and excursion was necessary to correct the vertebral subluxation. So there's nothing specific in a dynamic system. The only specific is innate. Our job is to give the right amount of force, meaning the least amount of force necessary, though, to entice innate to make the adjustment, and then allow the law of innate to do what it does best. The pain of growing is like the breaking of the shell that encloses the understanding of the miracles of life. It is the bitter portion by which the innate within opens the door to the daily miracles of life. Do not mistake these workings in the growing child for something they are not. This is the same thing of any patient, any age that comes in with symptoms. Just because they have a symptom, just because my child can't breathe presently, doesn't mean that he needs to be adjusted. Just because the patient comes in and has a migraine, and every time they had a migraine before, they were subluxated according to your objective measures, but you take it now and it's clear, doesn't mean they need to be adjusted. Just because a child's going through some change in growth phase and has pains or behavioral things at that time doesn't mean they need to be adjusted. We can't keep the adjustment as the commodity. Our commodity is our objective measures, our metrics, to tell us whether they need to be adjusted or not. That's what you sell. You're selling hope. Because if you had a child, would you not want them to be clear from day 1 to day 0? Wouldn't that be ideal? Meaning never have to be adjusted. But that should be your goal for your patient. You literally should have that in your head. That first day, doctor's report, second day, whatever, however you do it, second day, doctor's report, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you this adjustment, and I expect this to be the only adjustment I give you in your entire lifetime. Now, I'm going to have you come back regularly for your life to check, to make sure, but that's what I expect. Is it probable? No, we do stupid things with our life, right? But that should be your goal. Your goal shouldn't be thrust, 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 thrust. Because you know why? When you thrust, thrust, thrust and manipulate, you're a universal force, you damage the tissues of support. Now you always have to thrust, thrust, thrust. You see how it's a foregone conclusion? You're a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we don't need to add to kids' traumas. They have enough. If you have a child, or an aunt or an uncle, or have just watched, these kids fall a billion times a day. And I'm not talking about just a little hoop. I'm talking about climbing on top of a dresser and whop, and down in Costa Rica on carpeting? No. Wood floors? No. Cement tile? Boom. And you hear the crack in 3 rooms down the thing, like, whoa. Phases of development. I talked about this. Do you think that it's important, if your patient is an adult, that you know what's going on in their life?
Yes.
Why do you think that's important?
Thoughts, traumas, and toxins. What the causes.
Okay, so that we can have a whole philosophical debate on that. Do thoughts, traumas, and toxins cause subluxation? So you guys all look at me like, oh man, this is a trick question, isn't it? If that was true, can I touch you? Is that a trauma? It's a trauma, right? Did it cause a vertebral subluxation?
No.
Likelihood, no. But this baby, if I did that same slap on its head, is it possible that would cause a subluxation? So I can't say that trauma causes subluxation. I can't say that toxins cause subluxation, nor can I say autosuggestion causes subluxation. What causes subluxation? Lack of adaptation. Innate inability to adapt the universal force, that's stressor, due to a limitation of matter. I'm a little bit bigger than the baby, right? My body could sustain a higher force, a higher trauma. My force can sustain a higher tincture of toxins. Do you get that? So innate has what it needs to work with. So they don't cause it, but the body's inability, innate inability to adapt to those cause it. So that, but it's important to know what the person's going through, no matter what their age, to know what. Can it be affecting their pattern of vertebral subluxation, their frequency, and things like that? Your analysis. If I'm going to be measuring temperature, do you think it's important for me to know if a patient has a schedule of working out just before they get to me?
Yeah.
If a woman's on birth control, depending on the time they take it, if they're on blood pressure medication. Do you see how the list goes on? They are all going to affect my objective measures. I need to know this. Do you think that if a construction guy that used to be just sitting at a desk now is working a jackhammer, do you think that's important for you to know? A child also has factors that go into your analysis and what you're going to get to when you make your clinical decision of what you need to adjust and what not to adjust. Here are some basic separations. 0 to 7 years, birth to 7, initial adaptation and mechanical development. Air, water, diet, teething, walking. I mean, this is just, right? This baby was just completely enclosed. Now it's out. It was subject to universal forces, but to much less degree when it was in mom. Now those universal forces are rampant on a new structure. Right? We just said how that nervous system is neuroplastic. It's developing, it's growing, it's changing. Can't affect one thing without affecting all of it. So that's the first 7 years. Do you think then there might be a little bit more erratic readings in the stuff you take and you measure? Right? That might make sense. Does it mean that the erratic reading means they need to be adjusted? No. 7 to 14, social, emotional, mental development. Necessary hazards of diseases serve to build a storehouse of antibodies if you're not shot up to begin with. And the child goes through life. By the way, word on vaccinations is a really short word. Vaccinations are medicine, are for medics, and they're medical conversations, not chiropractic conversations. I pray and hope and bless every one of you that you never even have a moment of time in your practice to even talk about vaccines, that you're so busy checking people's nervous systems. Okay? That's enough on that one. 14 to 21 years, biological and chemical changes are the order of this period. This is when, that period when they're developing. Hormones are rampant, are crazy. Is that not going to affect their physiology? Your metrics are based on their physiology. You need to know that when you're measuring them to know whether it's a real or whether it's an artifact. Why? Because we want less is more. We don't want to adjust them all the time. We hardly ever want to adjust them because we want their body to do what it's supposed to be doing, and that's under the control of innate intelligence, doing what it's supposed to be doing towards restoration and full potential. Isn't that cool? Here's what a chiropractic exam looks like. Instrumentation, spinography, leg length equality, palpation, and reflexes. What kind of instruments do we have? Thermography. What? NCM, neurokilometer, nerve feet meter. Thermography is infrared. What else?
Toughness device?
Toughness device. Squeaky squeak. Nobody knows what toughness is, except for a few. Did they teach you there?
No.
Have you ever been checked by a toughness doctor?
No, I've seen it.
Wisconsin?
Alaska.
Alaska. He probably hasn't got up on the news. Very cool. A lot of docs in Wisconsin who are doing toughness. Yeah, and a doc in Flint. If you're ever driving through there and you want to go visit Jack Cribb.
There's a dog in Alive doing it. Maybe outpatient clinic.
What else? Instrumentation. There used to be single probe called chirometers or chirotherms. Some people use those these things. Clicky things. I would not.
Why do you have it?
Huh?
Why do you have it?
To test it. Anything else? Instrumentation. Okay. Why heat instrumentation? What does it measure? Why heat instrumentation? What does it measure? Good. See, these are easy questions. Why do we measure heat?
Inflammation.
To check for sympathetic.
Inflammation. Check for.
Sympathetic.
Does the baby want to answer? Check for sympathetic control, lack of control. Do you have an instrumentation class?
Yes.
Who's been in that class?
Check